The cargo ship Pacific Horizon drifts off course near the port of Dalian. Its crew watches cranes freeze mid-motion. A Reuters alert flashes across every trader's phone in Chicago. China cancels all U.S. soybean orders. $45 billion in contracts voided overnight. On the same morning, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent storms into a briefing with data that stuns even hardened analysts. China hasn't just walked away from farm imports. It's quietly tightened export licenses for lithium carbonate, the mineral the U.S. battery industry can't live without. At the Chicago Board of Trade, soybean futures collapsed 6% in a single session, the steepest drop since 2018. Farmers in Iowa refresh their screens as green turns red. A single message circulates through WhatsApp groups of exporters. Beijing just erased the market. Bessent faces cameras that afternoon. He calls China's move economic coercion. But behind the podium, aides admit the retaliation was predictable. For 2 years, Washington has escalated tariffs on Chinese EVs, chips, and solar panels. Beijing has now struck where it hurts most: food and lithium. Bloomberg's commodity desk reports that in the first half of 2025, U.S. agricultural exports to China plunged 39%, while Chinese imports of soy from Brazil surged 44%. The numbers tell their own story. The world's largest economy no longer needs America's farms. In Des Moines, the air smells of diesel and rain-soaked grain. Silos are full. Contracts are empty. Reuters data show China once bought more than 32 million tons of U.S. soybeans annually. This season, zero. Local elevators refuse deliveries. Farmers slash prices to move stock before it rots. At the same time, Bloomberg and EF releases a lithium supply report revealing China's dominance of refining and cathode production now exceeds 80% of global capacity. Even if America mines lithium, it must still send it to China to be purified. The dependency is total. Trump's Economic Council urges retaliation. Bessent pushes restraint. He warns that every tariff dollar cuts U.S. export leverage in half. "We built a trade war we can't feed or fuel," he says in a closed-door transcript leaked to the Wall Street Journal. The quote goes viral within minutes. Markets interpret Beijing's ban not as punishment, but as calibration. By canceling soybeans, a symbol of rural America, and constricting lithium, the engine of future mobility, China has hit the past and the future of the U.S. The Financial Times reports that China's state grain agency has redirected contracts to Brazil's state-run exporter, CONAB, locking in deliveries through 2026. In return, Brazil agreed to settle in renminbi, bypassing the dollar entirely. The transaction valued $23 billion. In the lithium trade, Chinese company Ganfeng has doubled its processing quota in Jiangxi province, financed by low-interest state loans with power costs a third of Nevada's. Western miners call it unbeatable math. Inside Iowa banks, loan officers freeze credit lines. The USDA's August forecast projected U.S. farm debt to reach $600 billion this year, the highest in history, largely due to higher interest rates. Now, with export revenue evaporating, collateral is vanishing too. Truckers idle at ethanol plants. Construction crews pause on new silos. The knock-on effect spreads. Deere & Company cuts its production schedule by 20%. Meanwhile, in Nevada's Thacker Pass, bulldozers carve dust into the desert. The Department of Energy has taken a 5% equity stake in the lithium mine, partnering with General Motors in a $2.26 billion loan program. Officials hail it as energy independence. But the economics tell another story. Chinese refiners process a ton of lithium for 30 to 40% less than U.S. plants. Bessent's next memo to Trump outlines the cost of decoupling tariffs may raise farm income temporarily through bailouts, but they destroy long-term markets. The Wall Street Journal calculates that each $1 billion in lost Chinese purchases removes 10,000 rural jobs. The bailout funds total $20 billion, but demand can't be subsidized. China, for its part, frames the boycott as a food security strategy. A Ministry of Commerce statement says China will prioritize diversified imports to reduce external dependence. Behind that bureaucratic phrasing lies geopolitical leverage. Let's pause, because this wasn't supposed to happen. Not yet. The trade war was meant to repatriate industry, not strand it. The farm crisis and the lithium chokehold now run in parallel, two sides of a single equation America didn't solve in time. At mid-year, Bloomberg tracks a surge of Chinese investments into Argentina's Salar del Hombre Muerto basin, one of the world's richest lithium reserves. The contracts lock up 25% of Argentina's future output for Chinese buyers. Reuters adds that Chile, long a United States partner in mining, has signed an agreement to expand joint ventures with China's Tianqi Lithium, effectively sidelining United States investors. If the United States wants to match supply, it must pour billions into new refineries, projects that take 5 to 7 years. Beijing built its network 20 years ago. In the Midwest, despair becomes logistics. Barge operators on the Mississippi report a 40% drop in grain traffic compared to 2024. Storage costs soar. Some farmers dump excess beans into biofuel plants at a loss. You can't stockpile what spoils, one co-op manager tells Reuters. Meanwhile, in Shenzhen, a BYD executive boasts that its in-house lithium battery division now produces more cells per quarter than Tesla's gigafactory in Nevada does per year. The gap isn't closing, it's expanding. Trump orders a review of the Phase 1 trade deal commitments China abandoned in 2020. Bessent warns that enforcing mandatory purchase quotas will backfire. China could retaliate through rare earth embargoes, which already account for 90% of U.S. imports. Still, the White House proceeds. U.S. soybeans become political theater. Lithium becomes strategic panic. By October, the Financial Times confirms Beijing has approved new export controls on graphite, essential for battery anodes, directly hitting U.S. EV producers. Ford and GM quietly delay 2 model launches. Every metric now reflects convergence of crises. Soybean prices fall below $9 per bushel, the lowest in 5 years. U.S. battery manufacturers face a 35% cost disadvantage over Chinese counterparts. The pattern is clear. Each retaliation multiplies across sectors. A tariff on chips triggers a freeze on beans. A subsidy on mines invites a squeeze on refining. No single lever works in isolation anymore. In late September, a classified memo circulates among Treasury staff. Internal models predict that if China maintains its soybean ban and lithium restrictions for 12 months, the combined hit to U.S. GDP could reach 0.8%, roughly $200 billion in lost output. The memo adds a grim footnote. Even if trade reopened tomorrow, China's buyers have diversified permanently. Brazil, Argentina, and Russia now fill the demand. Russia's Far East region has leased over 350,000 hectares of farmland to Chinese cooperatives. According to a Reuters archive from 2024, Beijing's food security strategy, once theoretical, now functions as policy. At a press briefing, Bessent tries to project calm. This is a moment to build, not blame, he says, but his tone is brittle. The Wall Street Journal runs the headline, Bessent versus Beijing, a trade war turned strategic. Analysts debate whether he can contain both fronts, agriculture and minerals, without collapsing investor confidence. Treasury yields rise, farmers protest, and automakers beg for clarity. Over in Shanghai, state media calls U.S. accusations, well, noise from a fading power. As the weeks go by, Washington's countermeasures really start to stumble. Subsidies cushion farmers, but they also inflate debt. Tariffs raise domestic costs, and the dollar's dominance faces a small but symbolic erosion as Brazil and China complete their first full quarter of soy settlements in renminbi. Bessent reportedly warns Trump that if America weaponizes tariffs further, Beijing might weaponize time, just letting markets bleed slowly until political pressure forces a retreat. By November, the contradictions just tighten. U.S. mines break ground, but honestly, they have nowhere to refine. Farmers grow, but they have nowhere to sell. One side of the economy can't export, the other can't import. Meanwhile, China announces a new joint reserve of strategic metals with BRICS partners. The bloc now controls over 70% of global lithium refining and 60% of soybean exports. Late one night, Bessent leaves the Treasury building, stepping into the drizzle. His aide hands him a folder stamped confidential, energy and agriculture correlation. Inside, there's a single line from a Treasury analyst. The same country that stopped feeding our farms now powers our batteries. He doesn't speak. He just folds the paper, looks at the Capitol dome, and walks away. Reuters runs the headline, China tightens rare earth controls as U.S. aid bill stalls in Congress. Wall Street calls it a double bind, decoupling without replacement. The Midwest calls it betrayal. Just 2 days later, Beijing's Ministry of Commerce posts a midnight notice that, at first, few traders even notice. All new export permits for lithium hydroxide, graphite, and rare earth alloys will require national security review. In a hastily arranged call with automakers, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent acknowledges the exposure. As reported by the Financial Times, internal Treasury figures show America's strategic lithium reserve can cover only 5 weeks of industrial demand. The same data reveal that 67% of U.S. battery imports still transit Chinese ports despite tariff walls. meaning a customs delay in Shenzhen could idle plants in Michigan, Tennessee, and Texas within days. Meanwhile, Bloomberg Latam confirms that Brazil's central bank has approved full renminbi clearing for soybean contracts, the first such system in the Western Hemisphere. Within 48 hours, the dollar's share of Brazil-China trade falls below 45% for the first time on record. Economists quoted by Bloomberg call it a currency coup dressed as trade facilitation. Behind closed doors, an IMF Trade Monitor memo circulates through Washington. It projects another 25% decline in U.S. agricultural exports to China by mid-2026 if diversification continues, warning that BRICS commodity coordination may permanently weaken U.S. pricing authority across food and metals. As Reuters analysis columnist John Kemp writes the next morning, the United States has lost leverage over both bread and batteries in the same quarter. The line ricochets across screens, a single sentence capturing a decade of strategy collapsing in real time. And the world watches a superpower split between past and future. One hand clutching the farm, the other reaching for the battery, both held hostage by the same rival it tried to isolate. The question now isn't whether the trade war can be won, it's whether the United States can still feed its people and power its machines without the country that just turned both off. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.